everybody. Good evening. Welcome. If you are here for Saving for Goals as part of the CSU Alumni Association New Year series, you are in the right place. So great job. You can give yourself a high five right away for being in the right spot at the right time. My name is Sophie. As people start rolling in here, I'm just going to do some quick introductions, some housekeeping things, and then hand it off to our friends at Canvas to be able to chat through tonight's presentation. But again, my name is Sophie. Thank you so much for joining our New Year's series, Saving for Goals tonight, sponsored by Canvas Credit Union. I am a proud alumna of CSU, and I have the privilege of working at the CSU Alumni Association and leading these programs. So I'm excited to learn with you all tonight as well. I feel like I am going to benefit just as much as the rest of you from the content that Kim has planned tonight. Before I hand things off to her, though, I do want to go over some quick housekeeping. As you can probably tell, we are running this event via YouTube, and we'd love for you to ask questions or comment on the material as we go if anything comes up. If you have a question or a comment, go ahead and use the comments section. You should be able to post comments regardless of if you are logged into a YouTube or a Google account. But if you're having some issues or something's going on, although I might not be on the screen the entire program, I will be here, and I will make sure that I get your question answered. So you can go ahead, and if that comment feature doesn't work, you can email me your question and I'll make sure that Kim sees it. My email is currently scrolling along the bottom of the screen right now, and I will also put it in the comments after I'm done talking, but I will have my eye on that throughout the entire program. Before we jump in, again, I'd like to thank our CSU Alumni Association members who are tuning in today. Your support through membership allows and makes connective and educational programs like this possible, and is largely responsible for everything we do at CSU, including our career and professional development programs. So thank you so much for your support. And last but certainly not least, I'd also like to introduce you to a new face and a new friend here at Canvas Credit Union. Kim is our new contact for our educational program, so she might be a new face right now, but will soon become a familiar one for you. Canvas Credit Union, again, graciously supports a variety of our programming within the Alumni Association, including these career and professional development programs, and we can't thank you enough for your continued support to our learning and our alumni community. And now I'm excited to officially hand things over to Kim to get things started.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophie. Welcome to our seminar about saving for your financial goals. I'm Kim Barlow. I'm with Canvas Credit Union. And tonight, our goal is to give you clear, practical strategies you can start to make your goals happen. But first, I would like to give thanks also to the Alumni Association for partnering with Canvas on these personal financial education seminars. Here's how our conversation will flow tonight. We'll start by laying the groundwork for the why. Then we'll talk through the how, followed by some simple ideas on where you can put your money that you are saving. After that, we'll look at 4 real-life examples with different timelines and dollar amounts. We'll end by sharing some resources that might be helpful as you work on your financial goals. To help shape our conversation tonight, I'd love to start by hearing about your financial goals. Using the chat, please tell us what's on your mind right now. These can be short-term or long-term goals, whatever feels important to you. I'd love to hear it. You know, some common goals we hear may include building an emergency fund, saving enough to pay off a credit card loan or a car loan, or putting money away for a vehicle down payment. Others, it might be buying a car with cash, maybe saving for an upcoming home purchase, having a rental property, or something more personal. I'd love to hear any of these goals in the chat. If you want to go ahead and, well, I'll share one of mine. One of my personal goals is building a college fund for my kids. And of course, there's also a goal that we all share, and that's saving enough for retirement. All right, we can come back to that if anyone wants to share their goals as we continue the slideshow. Depending on how much money you need and how long you have to reach your goal, the way you save for it will look a little different. But there are a few core ideas that apply to everyone here tonight. And the first one is knowing your why. Simply thinking you should have an emergency savings really isn't motivating. It kind of makes you feel a little guilty if you don't have one. But that thought process changes because you know your why. You want that safety net because you watched your friend who struggled after losing a job and they had no savings to fall back on. And her example gives you motivation and real power to work towards your goal. The same goes for saving for a home down payment. Maybe you're tired of the upstairs neighbor arguing at midnight, or your rent keeps increasing every single year and it's getting really expensive, and you want to have that equity, or you're not being allowed to really make your apartment your own. You would love to paint your accent walls or put up some additional shelves or whatever it is that makes it your home. Your personal why is what's going to keep you going when savings is feeling really slow. And there's one more thing that we need to keep in mind when you don't save for a goal. The alternative is usually borrowing money. And that can come with added stress, higher costs, and sometimes some long-term consequences. But let's talk about that. The two main ways that we can reach our financial goals is saving up the money or borrowing to get there. Both options have their place, and there are absolutely situations where borrowing makes the most sense. For example, a goal like buying a house is usually too large to reach just through savings alone. But for many other goals, savings has some real advantages. Saving takes planning, discipline, and patience. You can set a plan, but life always happens, and you may need to stop, make some adjustments as you're saving. If you're investing in the stock market and you're growing your savings, there's always going to be ups and downs. Even savings rates at banks and credit unions fluctuate. They follow the market. So currently, the rates on savings accounts are good. They're not as strong as they were last year or how 2 years ago, but they're okay. So patience matters. And for many people, savings feels just better. It reduces stress and it's emotionally more comfortable than being in debt. Now, let's look at borrowing. Borrowing can be helpful, but it can also get expensive. If you must put an emergency expense on a credit card, the average interest rate is over 20%. I've seen a lot of cards at 29%, 30%, and that adds a lot of cost to an already really stressful situation. Even something positive like a vacation ends up costing much more if you borrow instead of saving ahead of time for it. Student loans are a lifesaver when you're trying to finish up school, but they can also feel really overwhelming if your income is low after you finish college. So, in these examples, we must weigh both the benefits and the downsides. Even though borrowing can make sense for a big goal, like buying a car, a home, or paying for education, it becomes much harder in retirement when your income is more limited. That's a really important piece to keep in mind as you plan. More options for people more times people are considering to borrow from a family member instead of a bank or a credit union, because then they don't have to pay the high interest like they may have on a loan. Well, it also has its own kind of stress and awkwardness borrowing from family. Money and relationships don't always mix so well. So it's important to think through that choice too. So you've decided that savings is the path you want to take to reach your financial goal. We recommend using a simple 3-step process. Step 1 is figuring out what you have to work with, your income, your expenses, the amount you can realistically set aside. Step 2 is creating a SMART goal that fits your timeline and your situation. A clear goal makes it much more easier to stay focused and motivated. And step 3 is using pay yourself first approach to consistently fund your plan. This means you're going to treat your savings account like it's a required bill, not an afterthought. So let's take a closer look at each of these steps and how to put them into action. It's really hard to make a solid savings plan if you don't know what you're working with. You need to understand how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and whether you actually are happy with where your money is going. Are there any savings habits that you want to adjust? And once everything is accounted for, how much money is left that you can realistically set aside for your goals? Personally, I've tried to change not going and buying coffee every day so that I can save that amount and then only treat myself maybe on a Friday. As part of registering for this class, you should have received 2 tools, a budget template and a net worth worksheet. The budget template helps you see your month-to-month financial picture, your income, bills, and spending patterns. The net worth document gives you a wider, big picture view. It shows you what you own, your assets, and what you owe, your debts. Reviewing those numbers can help you see whether your money is truly aligned with your priorities. And just like the example I shared, if your goal is to buy a home or take a big trip, but most of your extra money is going towards pizza or ski trips on the weekends, you might need to make a few adjustments. One more important reminder that every financial counselor will tell you that you need an emergency fund before putting money into long-term accounts that you can't easily access. A healthy retirement fund is great, but if you're forced to pull money out and pay penalties to fix your car, fix a leak, then your financial structure needs some tweaking. Start by building accessible emergency savings, and once that's in place, you can confidently begin growing your long-term funds. We will use this approach in our discussion. You've probably heard of SMART goals. Maybe you've used them to train for a marathon or lose weight or build an emergency fund. It's a tried and true method. Saying, I should save some money isn't effective. Saying, I will save $1,200 in 1 year by setting aside $46 every bi-weekly payday is way more likely to get you to your goal. Our third step in the process is pay yourself first. No matter what your goal is, whether it's saving $300 over the next 6 months or building a retirement fund over the next 40 years, pay yourself first is one of the most effective ways to fund it. Warren Buffett famously said, "Do not save what is left after spending. Instead, spend what is left after savings." That is just such great and wise counsel. That's exactly what pay yourself is all about. Many people follow the pattern of earn, spend, try to save. But a better approach is earn, save, spend. When you intentionally save first, everything else falls into place more easily. The good news is that automation makes the PYF, pay yourself first, very simple. For example, one of my colleagues has the payroll department split her paycheck directly into multiple accounts. I have my own set to auto transfer from checking to savings every payday. Some people even send part of their paychecks to an account at a different credit union so it can grow without being a daily temptation. If you're investing, you can set up automatic contributions to your investment fund as well. And today I was up in Denver teaching a high school class, and the teacher shared with his class that he has his credit card reward cash go to his retirement account. So there's lots of really great options that you can use automation to be able to build your savings. So far, we've talked about why savings matters and how to build a plan to get started. Now, let's shift to the next big question. Where should you put your savings so it can grow in the smartest way possible? A core concept in successfully reaching your financial goals is taking advantage of compound interest. Albert Einstein even called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. The idea is simple. When you put your money somewhere, it earns interest. That interest starts earning interest too. So, for example, if you deposit $500 and earn 10% in interest, your next interest payment won't be based on $500. It will be based on $510. By leaving the money where it is and allowing interest to build on top of interest, your savings grows faster over time. Another way to maximize compounding is by choosing the right type of account based on when you'll need the money. Here are 3 common types of savings accounts. If you're saving for something just a few months away, like a trip, you're going to need quick access to your money. So accounts like a certificate of a deposit, known as a CD, or a stock market account wouldn't be a good fit because you would be charged penalties and interest if you needed to break those to be able to make payments in those couple of months. But if you're saving for a home down payment and you're not going to touch this money for 2 years, a CD may earn more interest than just a basic savings account. And it's a really good choice. It really pays to do some some research into interest rates because it makes a difference how quickly your money grows. One thing to notice, the first 3 account types on this slide are protected by the federal insurance at banks and credit unions. When your money is invested in the stock market, the potential for higher returns do exist, but so does the potential for losses. Choosing the right account depends on your timeline, your comfort risk, and how much growth you're aiming for. Here are some actual interest rates being paid on accounts in today's market. Just by doing some research to find a better place to hold your savings, you will earn more. So the basic, if you're a member of a credit union, is pretty much just that regular savings account that you put your $5 in, and it's just set up in credit unions to hold that $5. And then they'll have, just better accounts like high yield money markets where you're earning a bigger APY, but it might say, oh, you need to have $1,000 to earn this interest rate. And then a better one is a 5% APY. At Canvas, they have something that's called a reverse tier savings where you can earn 5% on some of your balances. So really, really important to look to see what interest rates you're making and then also see if they're willing to match. At Canvas, if you have a CD and you see a CD at another financial institution with a brick and mortar building, they'll match that rate. So understanding the policies of your financial institution and their rates and compare it really does pay off. Let's take a look at 4 examples of saving for your goals. They vary from $1,200 to an unknown large dollar amount and from 1 year to 40 years. The goal here is to save $1,200 in 1 year's time. In this case, it's to build an emergency fund. You decided you needed to have this fund and determine the specific amount to save. It's easy to measure because you can see the amount in your savings account. The number you picked is attainable. It's not too high or too low. And you looked at it from the very practical perspective of how much it would take each payday. Perhaps the most important part of a SMART goal is relevant, the why of the goal. The final part of your plan is to set the time for your plan. This example was for an emergency fund, but it could be applied for a car down payment or a fun vacation. If you do the research and then find that it looks really easy, do you want to shorten the time or increase the amount? Or think about it a little differently. Saving $5 a day is $1,825 in 1 year. Is there anything you spend $5 a day on that you could repurpose into a savings goal? This example is much bigger amount and a pretty short time frame. Could be for home down payment, a car purchase, a kitchen remodel, or whatever you have a dream for. Our specific amount is $18,000. Again, it's measurable because you can see how much is in the account you chose. The attainable part of the goal is going to depend a lot on your income and other financial obligations. You may start this plan and then after a few months make some adjustments. Again, the why do I want this may be the most important part of the plan. You hate your kitchen, but the discipline required to save this money is going to drive you absolutely crazy. Maybe you decided you need to kind of change your plan because you're going to eat out more and give yourself some more time to raise the money. What you don't want to say to yourself is, oh, I could never make this happen. Pause. Yes, you can. But you need to have a plan that makes sense for your time and your available money. This example has a longer time frame and a much bigger dollar amount. You have a specific dollar amount of $75,000. And since your kiddo is 3, now you have 15 years to work on that goal. You'll come up with an amount you can handle each month, and it looks like the only way to get the time and the money to work out is to take advantage of a 529 savings plan that puts your funds into the stock market. There are some other considerations with this particular goal. Are there family members who might want to help you with this goal? For example, maybe you have a grandparent or an aunt and uncle that would like to contribute to the 529 savings plan instead of buying a birthday gift each year. One reason you chose a 529 plan is that the money grows tax-free. So when you are looking for a long-term goals or bigger dollar amounts, your SMART goal may get a little bit more complicated to figure out. For instance, in this example, we are only saving for 1 child, not 2 or 3 kiddos. Again, the not effective approach is to ignore the situation or assume that there will be a magical solution when they reach college age. Sometimes when goals are far away, it's hard to grasp or imagine. For people in their 20s, it's really hard to make retirement funding a priority. Shoot, for people in their 50s, it's hard to make retirement funding a priority. I'm in my 40s and it's hard for me as well, just with the expenses that I'm facing every day of raising a family. So a couple of ideas to help you think that far out are to use an age simulation. Seriously, just Google age simulator and see how you'll look when you're 70. Maybe have a chat with your parents or grandparents about their aging journey and know how the best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago and the next best time is now. Well, the same applies to your retirement funding. The best time to start is while you're young, and the best time is today. One of the challenges with this goal is there are so many unknowns when the goal is so far away. The experts will absolutely tell you not to count on one source of income in retirement, but to try for multiple buckets of money. It might be Social Security or an IRA or a 401k or a rental property. The best tool in your funding arsenal is compound interest. Let's take a look at an example. The sooner you start investing, the more time your investments have the potential to grow. Waiting too long can make it very difficult to catch up. Compounding is your friend and means you can earn interest on the interest you earn on your original investment. So, for example, invest $3,000. At the end of each year, starting when you're 20 years old, you will have accumulated almost $680,000. That's assuming a 6% annual growth rate and no tax by age 66. If you wait until age 35 and you start investing $3,000 annually, you'll accumulate only about $254,000. And if you wait till age 45 to start investing, only $120,000 by the time you're 66 years old. It's never too late, so don't be discouraged. I'm simply just trying to illustrate right here the importance of acting sooner rather than later. So here's a little bit of some thoughts I have about retirement income. Take advantage of the employer matching. If your employer offers a match on retirement contributions, always try to contribute enough to get the full match. It's essentially free money that they're giving you. Number 2, understand vesting rules. Many employers require you to stay a certain number of years before their matching funds fully belong to you. Knowing your investing schedule helps you plan for timelines and career decisions. Consider using a health savings account known as an HSA. HSAs can be powerful retirement tools because contributions are tax advantaged and unused funds can continue growing year after year. They can help cover medical costs in retirement, which is often very significant. Fund your own IRAs. An IRA, either traditional or a Roth, gives you another avenue to save for retirement outside your employer plan. Great option for increasing your long-term savings and diversifying when your retirement money comes from. Find a trusted financial advisor. A professional can help you tailor your strategies, understand your risks, and stay on track over time. Now, a lot of times your financial institution will have a financial advisor that you can work with. I know that Canvas does. I know that Wells Fargo does. You just need to ask and they set up an appointment for you. That first appointment usually is free so that you can understand what your options are. And it's always good to have a second opinion. Next, explore additional investment options. Ask yourself, is real estate an option for me? What about annuities or investing in a business? These alternatives may offer growth, income, or diversification, but each one comes with its own risks. If you're self-employed, look into plans built for entrepreneurs, such as an SEP IRA or a solo 401k. These offer higher contribution limits than the standard IRAs and can help you save more effectively. Avoid 401k loans. Borrowing from your retirement accounts can interrupt compounding, reduce growth, and put you at risk if you leave your employer before paying it back. Remember the wisdom of compounding. The first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily. Staying invested consistently over time is one of the most powerful ways to grow wealth. All right, if you are ready to play around with the numbers and come up with your own smart financial goals, here are some resources that may help you. Savings calculators let you play with the starting amount, the interest rate, how long you will save, and you are adding what you were adding to the original amount. Play with money and the time options until you find a workable plan for you. Look for trustworthy and independent sources of financial advice, like InvestorGov sites. Be really cautious if you're getting your financial education information off YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat. There's a lot of advice on social media, and it's not always good advice. We've got some short videos on various financial topics, and many of the sessions we have taught at CSU Alumni are also available as videos. If you need to talk with an investment planner, you can find them like we talked about in the previous slide. Canvas is a great option. The IRS info page about 529 plans is shown, and we will include several other resources with this seminar so you can use them. So let's talk about some action steps that you can take right now. Number 1, start or strengthen your emergency fund. Having accessible savings in place protects you from unexpected expenses and keeps you from having to borrow in a crisis. Number 2, use the SMART goal framework to plan your next dream. Make your goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound so you have a realistic and motivating plan. Number 3, make sure your savings are earning as much as possible. Compare account types and interest rates so your money grows effectively while staying aligned with your timeline. I always like to encourage members when I was working at the branches to look at their accounts when they make a deposit or when they go in to pay a bill, and make sure that the savings accounts that they're earning are the right ones and that the interest is still the right account to be in, because sometimes those change and it's good to open a high yield instead of just a regular savings at the time. Number 4, seek out and rely on trustworthy financial resources. Use credible tools, advisors, and financial education sources to guide your decisions with confidence. Well, I really appreciate you attending today, and really good luck to you with all of your savings goals. If you have any additional questions, please throw those in the chat, and we'd love to address them. Thank you.
All right, and while we wait for a little bit to see if any questions come in, just another reminder that if you ever want to contact Kim or anyone at Canvas Credit Union, you can also always contact the Alumni Association, and we can help make that relationship if you can't figure out how to. But thank you so much to everyone for joining us. If you did miss something or need to watch the recording again, want to reference it later, just refresh your page after we end this broadcast, because it will be posted immediately afterwards. And on this same channel on our YouTube, you can also find all of those previous recordings that Kim mentioned. Again, if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to your friends over at the CSU Alumni Association or contact Canvas Credit Union. Let's see. I don't see any questions rolling in. So if you have any and you want to follow up on any of this, feel free to reach out to us. You have our contact info, and you can always reply to the email that got sent to you for your auto confirmation, as well as after the event, you'll get another one from us. Thank you again for joining, though, and for Kim for facilitating a great night of learning. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And last but certainly not least, go Rams. Have a good night, everybody.